everybody. Now we shall see how the physics is applied in the new innovative and creative technologies. To start with, why we need the technology in this modern era? We know that science is the basic thing for all the technologies. And why the science, technology and society are interrelated? We have got many basic sciences starting from maths, physics, chemistry, plant science, life science. And all the science forms the basic for an innovative and a creative technology. So whatever science is developed, it will affect the technology. Both science and technology will affect the society. In turn, society will be affected because of science and technology. So all the three are completely interrelated. So whatever innovation takes place in any of the three will be affected. So what is the need of technology? So the science, we have got many sciences out there. But what is the need? What is the need for designing a technology? The understanding of a science and the revelation of science leads to a creative technology. And why then we have to choose physics for technology? Because since we have got many types of basic sciences, physics forms the basic laws and basic phenomena for all the innovative technologies. And so we are just moving into the specific called next technology, that is physics and technology. Here you can see the diagram here, which is interrelated. Basic sciences is given here, biophysics, chemistry, life science, and some other sciences are also given, and all this can combine into a one single roof where some basic laws and some basic phenomena governs in physics. So physics is mandatory for all the technologies which is being developed. And next we shall see one among the technology is the air transportation. Now in this modern era, we could have been thought of this, how the aeroplane flies on the sky, how the lifting takes place. We could have been watched the birds. Birds are the natural flights, just holding their legs and stretching their wings. They can fly at the utmost at the height of the atmosphere. Why? What is the reason behind this? The God's natural blessing is there for the birds. But here, the man-made artificial airplanes, how it is lifted and how it is been flying in the sky. What is the physics behind it? That's the thing we are going to see now. Next thing, before getting into this, we shall see the parts of the airplane. What are all the parts of the airplane? Here you can see the cockpit. What is the cockpit? The commander or the pilot will be sitting there in the cockpit, and the control over the airplane will be there in the cockpit. And the main thing for the airplane to fly is the wings. Where in the wings we have wings. We can see the wings here. There is in the left side and the right side of the body, which is used to lift the plane to the certain height. Right. And apart from this, we have got the horizontal stabilizer, elevator and the rudder, which are very much useful for the controlling the pitch position, controlling the frequency and controlling the yaws. So these are the main parts of the airplane. If we know the parts, then we can understand how it is lifted and how it is flying in the sky. Right. Next. And before getting into this, what are all the forces which is acting on the flight? So we can see here, the forward force is there. That is nothing but it's a thrust. Thrust is the forward force. Who is going to offer this thrust or forward force? The pilot who is driving the aeroplane, or the jet engines which is fixed inside the airplane are responsible for this forward force. So whenever there is some sort of forward force, there will be the dragging force on the other side. So the dragging force will be on the back side of our airplane. What is this dragging force? Who is going to drag the airplane? Back side. So aeroplane is just flying in the atmosphere where it has got air and few water molecules. So the resistance which is offered by the water molecules and air acts as the dragging force on the back side of the plane. I hope I am clear now. In the forward side, the pilot is activating the jet engine, where the jet engine is going to offer the forward force. And the dragging force is the natural phenomenon which is occurring there due to the presence of water vapor molecules and the air in the atmosphere. So the forward force is offered by jet engine, and the backward force, that is dragging force, is offered by the resistance in air molecules and the water molecules which is present in the atmosphere. So this is what the forward and backward force. Clear. So Now, what are the other forces which are acting in this airplane? We can see the upward force and the downward force. The upward force is nothing but it's a lift. This lift can be done artificially and this lift is done naturally in case of birds. So this lift is the force which is acting in the upward direction and the gravity is the downward force which is always attracted towards the center of the earth. So to just conclude, the airplane is experiencing in all the four directions of forces. Forward force offered by jet engine, backward force offered by the dragging force offered by the air resistance, and the lifting force which can be occurs naturally for the birds or which can be made artificially for the airplanes. And the gravity is the force which is naturally occurring in almost for all the living beings which is attracted towards the earth. So these are all the four forces which are acting in the airplane. Now we shall see in the next slide how the lift is generated, and how lift is nothing but it's a forward force. Now we shall see how the airplanes are lifted from the earth towards the height in the atmosphere. The clue for this is, the first clue, it is going to be lifted in the air. What is the air? Air is nothing but it's a kind of a fluid which obeys all the physical properties like any type of a liquid. So air is nothing but it's a fluid. And when we say that air is a fluid, it won't be at rest. It moves from one place to the other place. So air is in movement. So the air molecules are in movement. So this is one hint. And the second hint is, whenever the air is very much high, there is faster air results in the low pressure, whereas the slow air results in the high pressure. So with this hints, I hope you can think how the lifting can be done in the airplane. Now you can just imagine the birds. We could have been observed the birds in the ground. They will be sticking on to the ground, they will be eating something on the ground. But when they want to fly, they just hold their legs, stretch up their wings and they just take off from the earth. So this is the thing that is happening here. Next slide. And here, the Bernoulli's principle is the basic thing for the lifting the airplane. How the Bernoulli's principle is basic thing? For example, we can imagine an airplane is just moving in the air. The wings are just affected by the air which is coming in the forward direction will be just struck off when it strikes on the wings. So part of the air moves above the wing and the part of the air moves below the wings. Am I right? So when the air is just faced by the aeroplane, the part of the air moves below the wings and the part of the air moves above the wings. Now, what is the structure of the aeroplane? What is the upward structure and what is the downward structure? We could have been noticed earlier. The upward structure is just like the zigzag manner. That is, it may not be flat. It has got some elevation at the top and it will be inclined towards a center point on its backside. And when we see the backside, that is a down portion of the airplane, it's completely flat. So what happens to the air which is moving above the wing? Above the wing, we have got some ups and downs. So the air will be moving up and down and up and down. So the air becomes faster. When air becomes faster, pressure becomes low. So in the upside, that is above the wing, the pressure is low. What happens to the wind which is below the wing? Here, it's going to be the flat surface. So when there is a flat surface, the air is going to be very fast. When air is going to be very much fast, pressure is going to be very much high. So here in above the wings, that we can see here how the air pressure on the top of the wing is less than at the bottom of the wing. So at the above the wing, pressure is going to be less and below the wing, pressure is going to be high. Now we can imagine, so since because of the pressure high in the bottom plane of the bottom portion of the plane, it's just get lifted because there is only less pressure in the above. So because of the high pressure, it just gets lifted from the earth and so it is able to be bit high from the earth's surface. So just to conclude that how it is lifted based on the Bernoulli's principle. What is Bernoulli's principle? When there is a fast air, pressure will be low. When there is low air, pressure will be high. Here the difference in pressure occurs in above and below the plane. So the plane is able to be lifted to a certain height. So this is the secret of the lifting. And this phenomenon occurs naturally for the birds, whereas this phenomenon is made artificially in case of airplanes. And next thing, and this here you can see how the lift pushes up the wings upwards and keeps the airplane. Now the diagram is being there. So the wings are shaped in such a way that the bottom portion of the wing is completely flat, whereas the upward portion is somewhat it's not flat. So some sort of up and down motion molecules. So the slow moving air in the downside part of the wing creates the high pressure. This high pressure makes the plane to lift at the certain height. And other things about this airplane, or the four parts are there, four main parts are there which are used to control or the maneuvering the airplane. What are all the main parts? Rudder, aileron, and the propeller and the elevator. And next thing, the most fascinating thing, how the pitches or the rotations can be made. These are the few things that we can just have it in mind. Aileron is nothing but which helps to roll. You can see the red color diagram here, roll. There is rolling of the plane can be done when we just control the aileron. If aileron can be manipulated or aileron can be controlled in such a way to have the rolling of the airplanes, and to control the yaws around the vertical axis and the horizontal axis, and the rudder is being attached here at the bottom end of the airplane, and the elevator is also attached here which controls the pitch over the lateral axis. And next fascinating thing is which physics law is behind for the aeroplanes to fly. We could have been noticed, just now we have seen the Bernoulli's principle helps us to lift the aeroplane to the certain height, which makes them to fly, or which makes the birds to fly at certain height continuously for many hours. So what is the creativity that God has given for the birds? The basic principle behind this, you could have guessed it out. The basic principle behind this, the famous Newton's third law of motion. What is Newton's third law of motion? We know that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. How here the forward force is there and how the backward force is offered by the plane. Here you can see the diagram. The direction of the aero march is from left to right and the engine is in the opposite direction. For example, you can imagine that airplane is just moving in the air. So the pilot who is in the aeroplane will make the jet engine to move in the forward direction, whereas the air which is present in the atmosphere will give the reaction in the opposite side. So this action and reaction makes the aeroplane to move at a certain height without any disturbances or without any obstacles. So the basic theory behind the flight of the aeroplanes is the Newton's third law. The hint is, as the plane flies at a certain height, the air hitting the plane is always equal and opposite to the force of the plane pushing against the air. That is, forward force is just equal to the opposite force, that is dragging force. So this binds the Newton's third law, which makes the airplane to fly at a certain height. Next thing. So the two things we have seen. What are the basic physics in this aeroplane? For lifting, the Bernoulli's principle is there. What is Bernoulli's principle? When the air is very much fast, pressure is low. When the air is very much slow, the pressure will be high. So this basic principle helps the aeroplane to lift at a certain height. And the Newton's third law, that is conservation of momentum, which is otherwise called as the conservation of momentum, holds for the aeroplane to lift at the certain height. And the next fascinating module in this technology comes this communication technology. Now we were being in the e-gadget technology. We are being using many e-gadgets, starting from smartphone, smart laptops. Nowadays we are using smart TVs. So almost we are just using all these e-gadgets. And to see this, what is there behind, what physics is there behind all this communication technologies, all in this innovative technologies. To start with, here too physics plays a vital role in almost in all the e-gadgets whichever we are using in almost in all sectors. And the basic thing behind this, next slide. And the basic thing, there is the basic phenomenon in the communication is, the first part will be the source of information. What is the source of information? It can be of data, or it can be of words, it can be of commands, or it can be of a speech which we are seeing now, which I am speaking now. So this kind of information will come under the source of information. And next comes the transmitter. So all this kind of information will be transmitted by the group of circuits where we have got oscillators, amplifiers, filters and the antenna. So all those things are inbuilt inside the transmitter. So this transmitter has got a major role in transmitting the signals from one point to the other point. For example, we are seeing the TV show in our home. We are just watching the cricket match which is happening in the Germany or in any other foreign countries. So how we are able to have the this live telecast programs. How we are able to hear the live telecast programs while through the radio, or we are able to watch live programs in the net. So all this are possible only because of this basic communication. There is basic tools here starting from the source of information and the transmitters. What physics is here? We can just make use of the oscillators and the amplifiers. Depending upon the requirement, we can choose a type of the amplifier, we can choose the oscillator, so that the transmitter plays the role of transmitting the signal from one point to the other point. And apart from this, the major role is by the link fibers. That is, what do you mean by link? We should have a link between the program where it is happening and the place where we are watching. The link is nowadays, it is being given by wire free. How this wire free is possible? So, some antennas should be there in the transmitting areas, and in the receiving areas we should have some sort of receivers to just receive the signals from the transmitting point. So nowadays we are able to see all this Wi-Fi links. So physics is there in this Wi-Fi link, and the receiver is there where the destination, where we have got TVs and radios and all the e-gadgets. So the basic thing in all this communication is the transmitter and the receiver. Transmitter is going to transmit the signals, and receiver is going to receive all the signals which is transmitted by the receiver, by the transmitters. And what physics is there? The amplifiers and oscillators and the link, each and every part is the basics of physics. So if we are able to go through in depth, we are able to get more information about this oscillators and amplifiers. Next slide. And today we are just coming across with the different forms of communication. What are the different forms of communication? Starting from radio, television, we are able to see that there is more importantly in the army and defense, they are using radar, sonar, and teleprinting and telemetering. We will see each and what physics is there in each form of communication. Next slide. And this in case of radio broadcasting, some sort of radio, we could have noticed many radio stations in our city. They will be doing some variety of programs. How they are able to hear all those programs? So some sort of transmitter will be there in the radio broadcasting station. The transmitter will receive or will just collect all the informations, all the data, and the amplifiers, oscillators will do their own part of the work. And the receiver where we are having the radio, the antenna will be there. Antenna will receive all the signals which is being sent by the transmitter from the broadcasting station. So we are able to hear all the live programs and all the recorded programs, everything. So one such example is this television broadcasting too. Television broadcasting both audio and video signals, whereas in radio broadcasting only the audio signal is broadcasted. Next thing. And these are the few modern techniques, innovations which we are using. The teleprinter. What is teleprinter? Nowadays we are just moving into email and WhatsApp. So many gadgets are there. This is one such conventional method where we have used in the 20th century. There is teleprinter which is used to send and receive the typed messages from one point to the other point. Next is telegraphy and telephony. Nowadays telegraphy is there, but it is a conventional method where we have started the very basic thing of communication. Now we are very much enriched with this telephones. Even the small kids are now able to work with this smartphones. The smartphones which has got an ability, all types of communication. We are able to see the mail, we are able to Google with the help of the smartphones. So all this kind of technologies are possible only because of the building blocks of physics, that is transmitter and the receiver which is present. And one such important technology is the radar. What is radar? The radio detection and ranging. What do you mean by radio? The radio waves can be detected and they can be used for ranging the velocities or the movement of any vehicles. Particularly radar is used in the defense to just have for the investigation purposes to store the information, and in this specific radar is used in Navy. That is for Navy in what kind of ships are getting into or the shore of India, and what type of angular velocity at which it is moving. So all this kind of data can be recorded with the help of this device called radio detection and ranging. And nowadays people are using weather forecasting, can also be done with this radar. And one such device is sonar, that is sound navigation and ranging, which is very much useful in the navigation of ships to get the information about the movement of ships and the other ships, or nowadays the people are using this to find to detect the objects under the surface of water, because it is just based on the sound, ultrasound, which is created by the objects which is inside the submarine world. So this is very much useful in defense area. So we have seen almost all the forms of communications. So what I would like to conclude is, in the second module, all this communication and fascinating communication is possible only because of the innovative technology behind this communication. What is this innovative? It just depends on the oscillators, amplifiers, and the Wi-Fi link wires which we are using. So now the research has been going on with wire-free, and still to make it as much as compact as possible. Still the research is going on to make it compact and much more useful. Next module which we can see, it is next module what we can see now is the fascinating world of robotics. So this also come under this innovative technology. Now we are just discussing about all the kinds of technologies, starting from the communication technology, aeroplane technology, and now this robotic technology. What is this called robot? We could have been heard the word Yendiran. Yendiran. What do you mean by Yendiran? And machine which is able to do all types of work irrespective of energy and irrespective of the nature of the work. So it is nothing but it is a machine which is manipulated in such a way that it can able to do all sorts of work that the human beings are doing. Where it is being used, robots, for example, we doesn't know, we are also being replaced by robots in future. But right now, currently, robotics are useful in defense purposes. Particularly, the first robot was developed in New Jersey in US. And here we'll see what type of robots are used. Military robots are there, automatic robots are there. So what is a robot? It's nothing but it's a reprogrammable. What do you mean by reprogrammable? I can change the program according to the requirement. And it is a multifunctional. It is not only it not only does one single work. It is able to do all kinds of functions. So it is multifunctional. And what do you mean by automatic? It can do on its own. It no need of command from anybody. So it is fully automatic. And it's an industrial mission which is designed to replace human in hazardous work, and so the people are using in the defense discipline for the investigation purposes. Now it is nothing but it is a reprogrammable, that is it can be changed, and it is multifunctional and it is purely automatic. So this kind of mission is called as robots. What physics is there behind these robots? Yeah, next thing. And before getting into this, we shall see why this robotics is needed, because it is hazardous and it is even it can work in the hazardous area or in the hazardous place where human beings cannot do. That is at the low temperatures, at the rate of 4 degrees centigrade, the human beings cannot stand for many hours. But whereas the robotics can be used for those purposes and to do the certain task repeatedly, and can do with the work with more accuracy. So for this kind of advantages, the people are just moving to this robotics. This is one such robot called the Unimate, which is being used or which is being designed by the people of scientists in New Jersey. And next, and what is the physics is there behind these robots? What are all the parts in the robots? Which makes a robot? I said it is a reprogrammable machine. What is the reprogrammable machine? What is there inside which can be reprogrammed? So there are the main parts are the sensors, which is going to sense like a human being. It is able to sense the smell, sense the taste, it is able to visualize. So all kinds of senses are possible. Next is effectors. After sensing, it can do any effective part of the task. That is called the effectors. And actuators, which is going to do a specified task. There is actuators and controllers. All this task can be done only with some control. So we have got some controlling machines also there in the robots to control all the tasks. And finally we have got the arms. It is just like the human arms. When we are about to do some task, we use our hands to do the task. Likewise, robots will use their own arms to do the certain task. So So these are the 5 major parts inside the robots which makes the machine completely reprogrammable. We'll see each and every part in detail. What is sensor? Sensor, it can be a microphone to sense the voice signals, and ultrasound sensors are also there to sound the very low voice signals, and some infrared sensors are there, some chemical sensors are there, acoustic sensors are there. To visualize for visualizing we have what the camera sensors are there. So all this type of sensors can be manipulated or can be designed into a robot. And next is effectors. Where the effector is a device which has got the robotic arm, and diagram is being given. It is just resembles like a human arm with all the 5 fingers. So what these effectors will do, they will be act according to the environment. Wherever there is, if they are moving in the land, they will just move accordingly. If they are moving in the water, they can move accordingly. If they are just going to do some stipulated task in the lab, they can use their arms accordingly. This is what the effectors. So the effective usage of the machine, which is being controlled by a group of devices called effectors. And next comes the controller and arms. Controller, microprocessor. Now we are just using microprocessors and microcontrollers, and apart from that we have got some advanced controllers also, which is going to control all the specific action and task of the robots. And next we have got the arms. And the controller is nothing but it's a device which can take many inputs and it adjusts the output accordingly depending upon the requirement. And next is a robotic arm. Robotic arm is nothing but it's a mechanical arm like a human arm which can do a specific task as the human beings are doing. And these are the few parts of the robots. And now what are the specific types of the robots out there? Mobile robots, stationary. Mobile in the sense they can able to move from one place to the other place. And stationary, they are kept stationary at one single point. They won't move, but it can be used for some specific purposes. Autonomous robots, they can decide their own action by themselves. So all that kind of robots will come under the autonomous robots. And remote control, we can also have the control on our hand with the help of the remote. We can manipulate it so that robots will be doing their task according to the commands which we give. And virtual robots is nothing but like imaginary robots which can do some specific tasks, especially in the medicine field. Now we shall see industrial robots. One interesting robotic type is industrial robots, where they are used for doing some certain tasks repeatedly, where the human beings cannot do. So those kind of tasks can be performed with the help of this day and night without any tiredness. They can do this kind of task repeatedly. Next is remote controlled robots. Specifically these type of robots are used in the space and defense because we will be having the control on our own, and they will be designing the robots in the form of frogs, in the form of snakes, or kind of any type of reptiles, so that the controllable, reprogrammable will be done in the machine, and the remote will be there in their hand. They can do it on their own, and they will be asked to do some certain task. These will come under this remote control. And next is virtual robots. Virtual robots are nothing but it stimulates a real robot, or it can do a repeated task. For example, this is used as the engine in certain machines. So this is what the virtual robots. Just they can do their own work. A very good example for this virtual robot is nothing but a computer machine which we are using day to day. The CPU and all the accessories are there, they are interconnected. When we give the command, they can do their, they can just sense our command and they can perform their own task without any delays. So this kind of machine is nothing but the virtual robots. And future, this robotics is going to be play a vital role in almost all the disciplines. We doesn't know, there is even the human beings in the academic industry, it can also be replaced with robotics. Robots will be standing there and they will be teaching you the lessons. Who knows, this may also happen. So all those is nothing but the innovative and incredible technology. It just depends on only by the human brain. The human brain is designing all these instruments. So that the science behind this is all the innovative principles and the laws behind there for this creative technology. and certain advantages are there and certain disadvantages are there. And one such important thing where the robotics can make a revolution in future is they can also replace a doctor in a surgery or in a hospital. For example, according to them, they are just defining that CT scanner is nothing and imagine it's nothing but it's not only an imaging system, it is an information system with eyes. For example, the operating room is an information system with many e-gadgets, with many applications. So what they can conclude is in future the doctors can be replaced by robotics, and these robots will be doing the surgery according to the program which is being made, so that we can avoid many sort of human errors. But anyway, it's going to be still it's an interviewing how it is can be made, and some ethical problems are there behind this. But anyway, we can see the positive side of the technology. We are able to frame a mission like the God. We are able to create a mission with all the things, with whatever needed to be done, it can be put inside at a certain task at a certain time, and it can be used for many useful purposes. The fundamental change in almost in all the technologies, whatever be the technology, communication technology or aeroplane or any kind of a technology, the fundamental change where this 21st century is facing is the information age, that is objects and the atoms are now being converted into bits and bytes. Okay, bits and bytes, what physics is there between bits and bytes? Bits and bytes are nothing but they are made only by the semiconducting materials called silicon and germanium. So the basic science is there. We cannot disturb the basic science. Innovations and many new things can be made only with the existing basic science. So the bit age and the information age is nothing but the basics of the semiconductor physics. And to conclude this, how we have seen three different modules in this presentation. Starting from the aeroplane, the Bernoulli's principle and the Newton's third law of motion holds the basic thing for the aeroplane to lift and to fly. And here in case of communication, the transmitted parts, amplifiers, oscillators, which are the core group of the electronics, forms the basic thing in case of all sort of communication systems. And the fascinating world of robotics also uses sensors, actuators, controllers, where the physics laws and physics principles binds all the innovative and incredible technologies. Still, the research is not ends, it just continues. We shall meet again in the next fascinating session. Thank you.